Hey, good Friday evening. It is Rocked On Detroit Lions, and we are live tonight discussing the Detroit Lions' first preseason game versus the New York Football Giants. I am joined tonight by my co-host, Andy B.
What's up, everyone?
We're excited to finally have some football on the docket. Now, we were blessed last night with a couple of games. Watched the Vikings get their butts kicked by the Hawks, and I think the Patriots got ran out of town. I quit watching that game, but it looked like they got pretty well too. So, hey, but we're here. Football's back. You know, we blinked like we said back in April, Andy, and we knew it was going to come.
Yes.
It came way too quick. Like, we're not ready for this, but we're ready for this. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, buddy. And I can tell you right now, I'm happy as a clam, and I hope everyone else is too. Go Lions.
Well, what's first on the docket tonight? We were out at practice this week. We were out at practice last week. We got to, get our hands dirty and taking a look at, the Lions and doing what they do in their environment. And, it's interesting when you get to see them up front, up close and personal, how big these guys really are. And how small some of them are, because I'll tell you right now, David Montgomery looks tiny, and he doesn't run tiny, but he looks tiny. Same could be said for Khalif Raymond. I had no idea that Khalif was that short. He doesn't look short on TV. You know what I mean?
No.
But when you get up and close and personal, it's mind blowing at how massive some of these guys really are. And I'm glad that they play for the Detroit Lions. So. Little housekeeping news. If you guys are watching Rocked On Detroit Lions, please do us a favor and join our YouTube. The best way you can support our channel and what we're trying to provide all season long, free of charge, out of our own pockets, is just click the subscribe button. That's all we ask you to do. And that'll help our channel a ton be able to grow and to be able to help us into our future, in our future plans. So give us a like, share, and subscribe. Ask all of your Lions fans or NFL fans, family, whatever, to do the same. That would be a great help to us. So, Andy, what do you have to say, man? What's first on your mind tonight?
Well, Will, I got I think like a lot of us, I got a lot on my mind tonight. Aside from the fact that it's preseason game 1 tonight, and really looking forward to that. I want to kind of throw it at you, Will. I mean, hey. You went to training camp, and you got to see it firsthand, and I'm sure that had to be real exciting. Like you said, a lot of players looking good, looking big, looking small, and I'm insanely jealous that you got to go, but I'm glad you kept me informed. But I wanted to know, what did you see at practice? Who really stood out to you? And honestly, the biggest question is, who do you think has got a legit shot at making the roster?
Well, I can tell you that, it's a little awe-inspiring, like I was saying earlier, about the guys and how big they are and what they're doing on a daily basis. And before I go any further, just to let everybody know, if you do watch our channels and you participate with us, we've been handing out tickets left and right, jerseys, gift bags, gear. And again, we do that just for your participation, just to say thank you. And we're really trying to cultivate a great community of members and loyal Detroit Lions fans. And we have a lot more in store. But to get back to Andy's question, the players that really stood out to me the other day, I only got to see the offensive side of the ball, but Jared Goff is first on my mind. And the reason why is I have not seen him throwing with this amount of zip on the ball in previous seasons. It just looks like he's amplified his ability to put more zip on the ball. And the guys, they're able to catch it. It was really hot and sweaty, the other day. So there was a lot of balls on the ground. I guess that was the second thing that really came to mind while I was at practice was how many fumbles there were. And I hope that doesn't continue tonight. Players that have a legit shot, I think we already know who the starters are going to be. Right. So I'm going to go the other direction. Starling Thomas, he's one that really jumps out to me that has a legit shot. And Dylan Drummond is making his way. He's really carving out a spot for him on this roster, given the unique position that the Lions are in, with an open slot while JAMO's serving his time in jail, or I'm sorry, in suspension. I don't want to say jail because somebody might misconstrue that as not being a funny and really think I said the guy's going to jail. No, he's just.
You're good, buddy. Don't worry about it. I know what you meant.
But to be honest with you, and this is the offense, they look unstoppable at this point. They really do. Being out there for a few practices, I can tell you right now, St. Brown is on a mission. They were saying Sewell is on a mission. St. Brown is on a mission. This guy is going to wreck the league this season. I'm not going to get into predictions just yet on his stats. I'm sure I'll be wrong anyway, but man, that guy, there's nothing that he doesn't catch. He's always in the right spot. I watched this one play. I was kind of behind Goff, off to the side, and so I kind of had about a 20-degree angle. So he drops back. Laporta runs up, and he runs an out, like a 4-yard and out. Right. And St. Brown came from the other side. Well, I lost St. Brown. I didn't see him anymore. Goff threw the ball, and I thought he was throwing it to Laporta, his back left shoulder. And I thought, there's no way that's going to get completed. I thought it was going to get picked off or thrown in the dirt or something. And here comes St. Brown. His hands just snuck around Laporta and snatched the ball. I've never seen a play like this before. They happened by accident, I'm sure. But that type of a blind pass, and I'm sure it's all timing, is something that I have not seen utilized by the Lions. There's plenty of teams that use timing plays. The majority of the plays are timing related. They're not all broken. But it really just made me think that, man, Goff and this offense are on the same page. They are coming out firing. They have a lot less to absorb this season when it comes to Ben Johnson's offensive game plan. So they're on their way escalating the offense each and every day, and they look quick. They look like they're all together. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely. No, that sums it up. Yeah, their offense, in the little bit I've seen, they just look, let's just say, nothing short of unstoppable. I agree with you 100% on that one, Will. Another one for you is Justin Jackson retired. I mean, what do you think that's gonna mean?
A bit of a shocker, right?
Yeah.
He was signed about 18, 19 days ago.
Yeah.
And I get it. The Lions were looking for more depth and definitely some more camp bodies. Quite honestly, I feel like Justin Jackson knew that the writing was on the wall with this team. And the running back. Now, I haven't read or heard anymore if he was suffering from an injury and that's why he decided to hang it up. I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. So I apologize. If there's something out there that I don't know, it's possible that there was a bigger, better reason. But quite honestly, I just feel like the writing's on the wall. I mean, you got Monty, you got Gibbs, you got Reynolds.
Yep.
I just don't think he was going to crack the roster. I'm not a big fan of Kabinda. I hate that position. I feel like it's a wasted position. But I just don't see where he was going to be able to crack the roster with Mohamed Ibrahim doing what he's doing. Now, I know that Ibrahim is listed last on the depth chart for tonight, but it's just an unofficial depth chart. Right. He's a bowling ball, and quite honestly, he's bowling his way to the top of the chart right now, where he should be able to sit at number 3 on this depth chart come August 29th. Is my guess. That's my early prediction. So what does it mean for the running backs? I think it means what it's supposed to mean, that the starters are set. So he's calling it quits.
Yeah, it's time. I mean, you hate to see it, but it's just opens up that one other spot. And yeah, you're right, Will. Our depth at running back is to the likes I know I've never seen, and I don't think really anybody else has either. So we're good on that one. I got one more for you, and I think this is something you and I have talked about before. It just seems like there's a new element to it. What is going on with JAMO again? I mean, he hasn't been in the news. He's missed some practices. the question keeps coming up, Will, and I know we talk about it. I read about it. What's going on? I mean, where are we at with JMO?
So, I mean, let's be honest here. JMO out of the news is probably a good thing. And I'll be the first one to say that. With him not being in the news, it's probably a blessing for the Lions and the PR team that are like, look, finally, it's not all about JMO doing this, JMO doing that, speculation here, and clickbait there. But you're right. He missed a couple of practices. He had another minor injury that set him back for a day or so.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back, and I'm at practice the other day, he was missing. Like 11 drills, I expected him to be out there and getting a lot of reps. And he just was nowhere to be seen. He wasn't getting any targets. I mean, I was there for about an hour and a half, and I didn't see JMO's number called once. I never saw him on the field, and he definitely wasn't hurt. When I read later on that day that, he was going to be, or he was in practice, he wasn't injured, and he took part in all of the, all of the drills in that. It just made me wonder what is going on. Like, is he getting pushed down the depth chart? Are they focusing this early in camp on the guys that they know are going to be starting? So I'm going to go with that answer. And I think that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are going to get plenty of looks at him in the preseason games. But I think when it comes to practice, I think that they're going to focus on who's going to be there to start the season. That's my personal opinion. I hope it's nothing more sinister than that.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see how it plays out, buddy. That's all we can really do. I mean, I think we all want this kid to be a superstar, so I hope it comes together for him.
We absolutely do. I mean, why wouldn't a Lions fan, super fan, 22 years myself, why wouldn't I want a high draft pick to be great? Of course I want JMO to be great, and I want Brad Holmes to continue with this master class that he's given us so far over the last 3 seasons.
Yep.
It's just sometimes some players don't work out. In Alliance, as an organization, as fans, we've seen it time and time again that we get a lot of bad picks. It's just unheard of so far with Brad Holmes. This might end up being his only bad pick, but I'm not ready to go that far. Not yet. Not yet. It's too early. JMO's got to get through the season.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, coming up next, Will, what you got for me?
Well, I tell you what, man. Who the hell's ready for some football tonight?
Oh, please. Thank God. All of us.
It's about freaking time. We're going to see some Honolulu blue and silver out there. I'm excited. So you and I spoke earlier about this move that the Lions had taken in the last week. And I was trying to put the shorts out last night. And I'm just going to tell everybody, Andy B here back in early April of 2023, he called Teddy Bridgewater going to the Detroit Lions. And kudos to Andy. I mean, that was a great call. You knew that he was going to be a phenomenal fit. And once I get this short up, probably tonight, everyone will be able to see your bright mind at work and all the hard work that you put into this paid off. So congratulations for getting us Teddy B. Now, you'll get my opinion on Teddy B later, and your opinion. But what I'd like to start off with you is, does this move prove that the Lions are all in this year with Teddy B?
Oh, absolutely it does. It absolutely does, Will, because, think about it. What it does is it gives us insurance if Goff goes down. I do not, and I think everyone believes this, no one wants to see Goff go down. No one wants to see their starting quarterback go down ever. But you got to think about it. Goff goes down, let's say he gets a sack. Well, I'm sorry, he gets sacked. And he goes down, he gets up, and he's a little bit limpy, and he needs to get off the field for a little while. Teddy's there. He's a proven backup, I guess you want to say it that way. But he's a proven quarterback where he can come in for a few plays and carry the team. But I think if you go a step further, God forbid, and I hope I don't jinx anything, God forbid we lose Goff to, say, maybe a high ankle sprain. You know, it could be a few games, maybe 3 or 4 games. I firmly believe that, say, Goff's out for 4 games, I think Teddy Two Gloves can win you 2, probably 3 of them, and they keep the ship sailing straight. Especially if, say, at some point during the season, the Lions are top of the division, their records standing. I mean, hell, if the Lions were 7-1 and then number 1 in the NFC North and Goff goes down, that's going to ensure, in my opinion, that you're going to be able to keep things afloat on a good direction until Goff gets back in action. So I think it's a great fit. I was very happy with the move. And yes, I called it because I just kept saying that they've got to get somebody in the mix. They have to. So kudos to me.
Yeah, kudos to you. You know, and quite honestly, Andy, you and I put a lot of work in the offseason. And we knew that Lamar wasn't coming to Detroit. You know, It just didn't make sense. We knew that the Lions weren't going to go out and sign a big-name quarterback. Or at least we thought we knew. You know, really, It was just the hard work that we put in were good, high-educated guesses.
Right.
They just happened to be right. But when you look at the Brad Holmes, the Dan Campbell, you know, culture fit, the dynamics of the team, the way that the organization is trying to build and develop a long-term succession plan for the future, it just didn't make sense. So bringing in somebody like Teddy, $5 million, $2.5 million guaranteed, does just that. It helps back up Goff. And I'm glad you mentioned the word backup because Teddy is a career backup.
He is.
You know, ever since his injury, he's been a career backup. I guess we should say that. So what effect do you think this will have on this team? And I guess more importantly, what effect do you think this has on Hendon Hooker as, you know, now another solid quarterback in the NFL being around him to be able to be a sponge off of Teddy as well?
Well, I will say one thing. You know, I've heard some comments before about that this is like a replacement for Goff, which I think is completely inaccurate. If anything, I can tell you the effect it'll have on the team is that you got to figure you have Goff and Bridgewater. They're only 2 years apart, and how long they've been in the league for. They're going to be able to feed each other off of each other knowledge that one or the other doesn't have. And I think the offense as a whole is going to see that as well. So for me, the effect it's going to have is that you're going to see the offense be able to adapt to both sides of Goff and Bridgewater, especially when Bridgewater does, because Bridgewater's not playing anytime soon. Well, not that long, but anytime soon because he just got here. But I think it's going to have the positive effect of an offense knowing that they've got 2 reliable quarterbacks that can throw them the ball. And that instills confidence, obviously, in the whole team because, again, Goff goes down, Teddy steps in. That team's going to feel good about, okay, our main guy's out, but now we have Bridgewater in. We're still good. So I think this inspires a lot of positive confidence amongst the team, the coaches, especially Ben Johnson, because this is his offense. In terms of Hendon Hooker, I'll tell you right now, Hendon Hooker, we all know, drafted this year to the Lions out of Tennessee. And I think he's going to be a good quarterback. And I'll tell you right now, I think it means that Hendon Hooker, he's got 2 of the best guys you could ask for to look into, to watch play the game and learn how to play in the NFL at an NFL level. I think it's just going to be nothing good for him. Who knows? I would be willing to call this one. It could create a competition for a potential backup spot. You know, who knows? Maybe Teddy doesn't work out and they need a backup and all of a sudden Hooker moves into that spot for him instead. I don't see any negative with having a guy like Bridgewater coming in, a negative on the team whatsoever. Again, like I said earlier, I think this becomes a perfect fit.
So a couple of things that I've read and come to realize about Teddy Bridgewater is obviously Dan Campbell has relation, AG has relation with Bridgewater. They were, I believe, together in the Saints organization when Teddy was there. And
Yes.
when Breeze went down, Teddy came in. He won 5 games in a row. Of course, Breeze comes back and Bridgewater gets pulled. I think that was the wrong move. I think that Bridgewater had that team going right, and I wouldn't have pulled a winning quarterback, but that's just me, and that's why I'm not a head coach in the NFL or a GM. But I think that gives you the writing, or, you know, that gives you the, well, I guess it gives you the knowledge from an experience standpoint that Bridgewater is able and capable to come in off the bench and lead a team. You're right about a couple of things, though, in my opinion. Is this going to do anything for Goff as far as a battle? Should he be worried? I don't think so.
No.
This is not a competition for Goff. Goff is the leader of this team. He's going to be the one that remains QB1 no matter what, unless he gets injured. Now, you got to remember that Bridgewater's only signed for 1 year. So if we're going to consider any sort of a battle between him and Hooker, that would have to be next year. Bridgewater would have to be re-signed because Hooker's pretty much going to be done the whole season. He's going to be redshirted the entire season. And to me, that's why the Lions brought Bridgewater in too, was they can have 3 quarterbacks and only 2 affect the roster with the new rules this season. So when I look at the Bridgewater signing and how it affects the team, one, he won't affect, or it really won't affect the roster because either Sudfeld or Martinez or Bridgewater, one of those guys won't affect the roster if they make it. 2, I look at it from an experience standpoint and somebody that's got really high character. Bridgewater's that guy. He has really high character, and he really affects a locker room in the positive way. And that's everything that you keep hearing from Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, is that Bridgewater's high character, high morals, high ethics, just a good football guy. And so he'll be able to keep the guys motivated, and he's also going to take the pressure off of Goff. During camp, during practice, it will help elevate the defense. And, them going up against a different style of a quarterback that has more mobility. When I look at these moves, I look at, how does it affect the entire team? Well, the defense is only going to get better if your quarterback is able to be more mobile. That'll give you more of a Justin Fields look. It'll give you more of a Lamar Jackson look. Now, Bridgewater's nowhere near those guys when it comes to mobility, but he's better than what Goff's going to give you from a look, right?
Right.
So sometimes, on your look teams, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to give these guys a variability in practice situations. All right, so moving forward here, we got through the fact that Justin Jackson retired. JMO was missing in practice, and really don't know what's going on with JMO just yet. I spoke a little bit about what I saw in the joint practices the other night. So maybe we should get into a little bit about some of the positional groups and where we feel like the secondary, the wide receivers, maybe the running backs are headed, and or what part of the offense and defense do you feel is going to be a strength tonight in the Giants game? So I'll start first with questions for you, Andy, and I think my first one is going to be for the wide receivers. You've got a depth chart in front of you. We've kind of talked about it a little bit. Which wide receivers, if August 29th happened today, who's making the team?
Well, you got the obvious ones. We know Marvin Jones. We know St. Brown. We know Reynolds. Those are definitely going to be locks. Jameson Williams, regardless of what's going on with him, he's going to make it. He's going to make it regardless. Of course, Khalif Raymond, he just signed a 2-year extension today, so we know he's a lock for sure. There are a couple of, we'll call them dark horses. I know one of them's your guy, and one of them has become my guy. Green, I'm a little fuzzy on him as of right now, our 7th-round pick in the draft. I think he shows shades of being good, but I also think there's a lot of inconsistency with him. I read about what the coaches were saying. They're saying he likes his work ethic and they like what they see, but he's just got to get more consistent with his, with his catches, with his reading of the defense and whatnot. So as of right now, I'd give Green a practice squad shot at best. I can't say he would make the team right now. Actually, I would put him on the practice squad if I was in charge. But I got to tell you, Will, I got to tell you right now, the story for me, talking about a dark horse, what I call diamond in the rough, we got to give a shout out to that undrafted kid, Dylan Drummond. He's unbelievable. And you know what's funny about that? I use the term diamond in the rough primarily because I think it's some of the best undrafted players. I'm talking like Nate Newton, Drew Pearson, James Harrison, Antonio Gates, and then obviously the biggest one we all know about, Kurt Warner. We all know his story. I mean, all these guys were undrafted, and they turned into some of the best players in the league. Now, I don't want to jump immediately and say that Dylan Drummond's going to be one of those guys because we really don't know. In fact, we don't know anything about these guys outside of training camp and in these joint practices. But when I see a guy undrafted who's coming in there with something to prove, and he's doing the things that Dylan Drummond is doing, I actually, as of right now, if you're going to ask me, would you put him on the final roster for this team going forward? I absolutely would put him on the final roster. I think he'll be really, really a good fit amongst all the other guys like Reynolds and Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Williams, and even Khalif Raymond. I just think they're all heavy hitters. Denzel Mims, he's kind of looking the way that Green was. There's been some inconsistency with him. Not saying he's a bad receiver. I think he will make the final cut, but I think it's going to be on kind of a limited basis. That's where I see right now with our wide receiver core.
You know, it's funny. Dylan Drummond, didn't he play for Eastern Michigan?
He did. Yes, he did.
And he was undrafted, and I believe he had less than 40 catches and right around 500 yards in the last season. So it's not somebody that really pops off the screen like, you know, this is an undrafted guy that should have, you know, he got passed by for whatever reason. Look, the guy has no character issues. He's probably going back to the practice that I was at the other day. He was probably one of the more crisp route runners in practice. He did get his hands on the ball. His name was called, along with Coda. I saw Coda in there more than I saw, you know, anybody else. Along with Mitchell, the tight end, he was getting dirty. So I saw a lot of work from, you know, the non-number ones. I saw a lot of number twos, you know, getting a lot of work, number threes, getting pulled up that were really making the plays in practice. But when I got my eyes on Drummond, I just didn't believe everything that I was reading because there's too much crap out there.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, that's when I became a believer too, that this guy is working his ass off. And some of the catches that I saw him make were unbelievable. Like, I did not expect an undrafted guy to come in and impress me the way that he did. It did not even matter who was throwing him the ball, Martinez, Sudfeld, or Goff. All three of them completed passes with Dylan Drummond. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see him tonight. So he's on my list for one of the guys to watch. He should get plenty of work, you know, in the third and fourth quarter for sure. So keep your eyes on Dylan Drummond. I don't even know what number he's going to be wearing tonight, but
yeah, I don't know either.
It is potentially number 83. So keep your eyes on number 83 tonight, Dylan Drummond, and then let us know in the comments, guys. What do you think? Is Dylan Drummond going to be somebody that's going to crack this roster on August 29th?
I firmly believe. I think he will. I'm calling it right now, Will. He'll make the final roster.
Man, that's you in 14-3 and now Dylan Drummond. That's two big calls, buddy.
Hey, what can I say?
2 big calls. Remember, you're live,
Hey.
man. People are hearing this stuff. We got any comments? We got any comments from everybody yet tonight?
Let me see, actually. Been so involved here. We do not.
Oh, come on, people. Jump in and send us some comments. What's going on out there in Lions Nation? One Pride Land.
Yeah, we like to have some fun out there. Oh, and speaking of just a quick note also, I brought up Khalif Raymond. On top of the fact that you guys two-year extension, I still haven't found anything of disclosure of how much he's making. But at one of the games, the joint practice games, if you didn't see that nice little smooth one-handed catch he made, get on X, get on YouTube, whatever social media platform you desire, and look it up. It was a pretty impressive little one-handed catch that Khalif made. Did you see that one, Will? That was definitely a clapper. I saw that one and said, wow, it was a good one.
I saw the other two that were circulating. So I saw the Reynolds and Marvin Jones up close and personal. I saw those at camp. I didn't see Raymond's. Right. And then there was one other one that I don't think anybody got video of that was just sick. And it was almost like that St. Brown catch, that blind pass. That was in the end zone. All right, so recap for me one more time. You had Marvin Jones, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, who's also suspended, so he won't count. Josh
No.
Reynolds, Khalif Raymond.
Yes. Yes.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though only 4 will count. And then Dylan Drummond. Who else? Antoine Green?
I say Antoine Green. Yes, sir.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, with 1 not counting. So you're expecting 6 Lions receivers on this initial roster?
I do.
I want to say
I
want to say in 2022, they only had 5. That doesn't mean that they won't keep an extra one this season, but I think they only had 5 in 2022.
Yeah, I think basically the victims of the team are going to be Trey Quinn, Trinity Benson, and Chase Cota. I don't think they'll be on the final roster.
So I'm fairly in agreement with you. Obviously, we know Marvin Jones and Amon Ra are going to make it. Josh Reynolds, he's got too much history with Goff not to make the roster. Khalif Raymond just signed an extension, so he's not going anywhere unless that was used for trade bait and they're going to trade him off after getting him a new contract, which I doubt.
I doubt
that. But you didn't mention somebody that I feel is going to make the team over a Dylan Drummond, and that's going to be Denzel Mims. So I know that Mims has had a couple of off days, but I've got Marvin Jones, Amon Ra, Denzel Mims, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. I have those 5 making the top of the roster. And then I have Jameson Williams, who's suspended, which won't count against the roster.
Right.
So I do feel like the Lions are going to keep an extra wide receiver because they're not going to want to let Antoine Green go. So in my opinion, Antoine Green slides in as the 6th wide receiver on the roster. That'll be 7 altogether. Dylan Drummond will make the practice squad if he's able to clear, everything after the cuts.
Right.
And I do think that Chase Cota comes back on the practice squad too. He was just too good. But the Trinity Benson experiment is over. Maurice Alexander, he's great in special teams. He's got a lot of speed. He's a good kick and punt returner. He's just not going to make the team. I think that the Lions are looking for speed, and I think that they're looking for aggressive blocking and looking for height in the red zone. So I feel like, in seasons past, the Lions averaged only 5'10" on the wide receiver core. It's too short. So by adding people like Mims and Green, you're getting up to a better average. You're getting more height, and I think that's where the Lions are headed, is more height, more speed, more aggression. All right, so wide receivers are in the bag. What other questions do you got for me? And then let's move into the running backs.
Yeah, the question about wide receivers I have for you, Will, is basically, you actually kind of answered my questions as to who your wide receiver picks are, all that. So I think we're good on the wide receiver route.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to the the running backs, I said it the other day on my little brief live show, JAHMYR GIBBS. The guy is extra, extra, extra. Read all about it. Dude's insane. He's got wheels and routes for days. I've seen this guy in practice stop on a dime, jump cut, spin, bulldoze. It doesn't matter. This guy will do anything. And his speed has got different levels of gears that I haven't seen on a Lions running back. If you thought DeAndre Swift was fast, and he was quick. To me, there's a difference between quick and fast, right? You're either quick twitch, quick get off, quick first step. JAHMYR GIBBS has all that. DeAndre Swift had that too. The difference is GIBBS goes from being quick to fast in a hurry. And he doesn't run out of steam. So when he's beyond 20, 30-yard chunk runs, he's not slowing down as where DeAndre Swift was slowing down and getting caught from behind. I haven't seen GIBBS gotten caught from behind yet. Hopefully we'll see that tonight where he just gets loose and keeps on running. So, in your opinion, with the running backs, do you feel like JAHMYR GIBBS and Monty are going to be the best 1-2 punch in the NFL?
Oh, absolutely, I do. Because when you think about it, Basically, I'll tell you right now, the one thing about Montgomery, he's a ground and pounder. I think they will use him a lot in maybe short yardage situations, could be 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 5s, going in for those first downs. But the only other thing, too, is that you've got the thing with Gibbs is that it's kind of like you said, he's a dual threat tailback. I think personally, he's got the ability to be a 3rd down back, but I don't think we need to overuse him on that either. I know you've heard me say this a couple times. I think he's another version of, and yes, this could be another statement I make that's going to meet backlash. I think he's another Deebo Samuel in the making. Deebo Samuel has that speed all over the place, quick, fast, everything.
Monty?
No, JAHMYR. No, I'm talking about JAHMYR. Yeah, no, Monty, no way. Monty's a ground and pounder. I think he's a very reliable back. I think you give him the ball, he's a bowling ball, kind of, like Izikabu, I think his name is. Let me know if I'm saying that correctly, please, Will. He's got the size. He's got the size to power through a line and pick you up a first down or get in the end zone for a touchdown when you need him. But when you combine that with the skill that JAHMYR GIBBS has, I'm going to tell you what, JAHMYR GIBBS and Montgomery together, they're going to be a duo that defenses, when they have to look at tape of the Lions for their next game against them, they're going to have to look and focus real hard because JAHMYR GIBBS, you're right. I saw some clips during the practices too with the Giants. When he gets going, if you don't have a hand on him, see ya. You're not catching him. And what is he, Will? I don't know if you have it in front of you. What is he? Was he a 4.2 in the 40? I think maybe 4.
I think he's like a 4.38.
4.38. I mean, he's fast. I mean, he's lightning. So I really believe they are the 1-2 punch. They're going to be the 1-2 punch that defenses are going to have to really pay attention to, because if not, they're in trouble.
So here's the thing about this running back duo. One, they're going to be behind one of the best offensive lines in the league. The holes that I saw opening up in practice were incredible. This offensive line, I mean, you could have – I know you hear this all the time. You could have driven a truck through it or a freight train through it. Literally, that's what I saw in practice. It's just practice. I get it. The pads come on tonight in a game. We're going to see it if they can really continue on with what they've been doing in practice in a game scenario. But I seen some of the biggest holes opening up for these guys. And this is going against a pretty stout defense. Big guys on our defense. Isaiah Buggs, Charles Harris, Aiden Hutchinson. These aren't small guys.
No.
And if this offensive line is able to work against those guys, they should be able to work, against just about any defensive front in the league. But as far as the best 1-2 punch, I think that they're going to have to earn it, and they're going to have to show it to us. But I don't see why they couldn't be. I said this the other day too. It's almost like when a pitcher throws you a fastball and then throws you a changeup, right? That's Monty and Gibbs. Monty is not afraid to take it to you, right, and lay the hit. But I was watching him catch balls out of the backfield, and I was surprised by this. We knew that he was going to be a better pass catcher out of the backfield than Williams, so we heard, right? It's true. Yep. The guy catches, and he gets upfield in a hurry. He's able to run these swing routes, wheel routes all day long. I didn't see him miss a pass. Saw a few balls on the ground, after they caught the ball or after impact. Hopefully that doesn't rear its head tonight, because Monty does have a history of some fumbles. I just hope, like I said earlier, I just hope that doesn't happen this season. But as far as Gibbs getting his hips behind him, and when he starts to get going forward, you're not going to catch him. When he gets loose and he's beyond a DB, forget about it. The guy's gone.
Goodbye.
His route running, impeccable. Watching his hips and his feet and everything work in sync, he is right on page with Jared Goff. I seen some 20, 30-yard passes. I seen some 7 to 12 swing routes. The guy can do it all. I did not see him line up in the slot as much as I wanted to at practice. Right. But maybe we'll see that tonight.
I can't real quick. Well, I can't wait to see this kid play tonight. I'm so excited because he's the class of the draft this year, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I mean for the Lions, not the NFL, but for us, I can't wait.
So that probably answers my next question: is do you really think that Gibbs is the real McCoy coming out of this draft. You got Bijan and you got GIBBS, the first 2 running backs taken. Which one's the real McCoy? Which one's going to have the better season?
Oh, GIBBS, absolutely. I know it could be said maybe I'm being biased, but I really feel he will be. I mean, Bijan Robinson, terrific running back. I have nothing bad to say about him. I mean, Will, I'll be honest with you. If we would have drafted Bijan Robinson, I would have been fine with it too. But just from what I've seen, clips, everything, college stuff, I just think you're getting more bang for your buck from JAHMYR just because that ability to be able to also play like a wide receiver and all that. And you know what, Will, for you, hopefully tonight he will be lined up in the slot some more because I know that's another one of his strong points. But I would take JAHMYR GIBBS any day over any running back.
I'm not going to get we haven't seen GIBBS, so we've got to see him work first. We got to see what happens. But let's set the expectations low for right now. As far as the player to watch tonight is going to be Mohamed Ibrahim.
Yes.
In practice, this guy lowered the shoulder and delivered a boom that was heard all the way across the field. They were doing red zone work. I think they were on the 2-yard line. He took one up off the guard, and I wasn't paying attention as much as I should have to him as I was watching what was going on with the offensive line play. And when I heard that crack and I looked over and I saw Ibrahim just lowering the boom on the defensive line, that's when I knew that when I called him a dark horse early in April to make this roster, coming out of Minnesota, being a Big Ten guy, watching this Big Ten, all season long, Ibrahim is the real deal. It's too bad, where he ended up, throughout the draft process. But any team that takes a shot on this guy is going to get a baller. And if the Lions make a mistake and let him walk, which I don't think they're going to do, he's the guy to watch tonight. He's definitely going to get a lot of action in the 3rd and 4th round, or 3rd and 4th quarter, if not earlier. I expect this guy to be a playmaker. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to make this roster. So to round out running back talk for tonight, keep your eyes on Ibrahim. And my picks for the running backs, obviously we're going to go with David Montgomery, JAHMYR GIBBS. Mohamed Ibrahim is going to make this roster as the 4th running back. Craig Reynolds is going to slide in at number 3. And that's my picks for the early preseason talk here on the Detroit Lions roster. Remember, guys, roster cuts are different. So this season, there's not 3 dates. You have August 29th is final cut day when the rosters have to get down to 53, which is nice because you get to keep all of your guys on throughout the entire preseason. They're all going to get plenty of work, and it takes less, a little bit of stress off the coaches. Who am I going to put in? Who am I going to look at? No, it's just keep them all in, keep them all on, get them plenty of work. And I think that the big benefit there is if you're putting some of the lower tiered guys in more often, you're taking a little bit of mileage off of your starters in your 2nd round or your 2nd string, so they don't, have too many opportunities to get hurt. All right, so lastly, to round out our positional group talk tonight, so we talked about the wide receivers and the running backs. Let's go jump over to the secondary. I know we've talked a little bit about them, or spoke a little bit about them in previous weeks, but I wanted to jump in just a little bit on the secondary. Pick our roster selections. Last season, the Lions had 11 defensive backs to start the initial 53-man roster. I think that they're going to end up with the same. And if I were to take my defensive backs today, obviously we know Mosley is probably not going to suit up for a while. He's going to be on PUP, which is going to create a roster spot for somebody. So if I were to take my DBs, let's start with safeties. Tracy Walker, obviously he's going to make it as long as he stays healthy, but I honestly think that Tracy might slide down with the number 2s early. I know he's the number 1. I know he's a hell of a player, but something this offseason, from what I've seen and read, he's not as effective as he was prior to his injury. Kirby Joseph had a stellar season last season, and I think that he's really picked up where he left off. And his game is elevated much more since C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been on this team. C.J. Gardner is going to be one of those transformational tools and I don't mean to call him a tool, but he's utilized as a tool as to where he's able to communicate with the guys on the roster in a different way. His verbal ability is able to affect somebody else's game skills a little bit easier than some of the other players. Tracy Walker's just not as verbal as a CJ Gardner-Johnson. So I think that Kirby Joseph slides in over Tracy Walker, but either way, they both make the roster. Clearly, we know that CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to make the roster. He's been playing more of a safety spot in camp. Now, he was really brought in to kind of play more of that nickel cornerback. And he's been back more with the safeties for whatever reason. If that's because Tracy Walker has fallen off a little bit, I really don't know. So I'm going to back up and put CJ Gardner-Johnson back with the safeties, even though he's really playing that nickel corner spot. Brian Branch, he's having a stellar offseason. He's playing his heart out. And in every angle of tape that I watched, the first practice I was at on the 29th for the first loyalty member day game or day practice, the guy stuck like glue to everybody. And at the Giants practice, both of them, he's been sticking like glue, hasn't had a whole lot of issues with coverage. And for that reason, I think that Brian Branch might get a shot at starting at nickel. If not, he will at least be a number 2 with getting a lot of playing time. So we got Brian Branch obviously making the squad. Efetu Malafanu. Haven't seen enough out of him, but something tells me that he's on the squad. Savion Smith, he suffered that nasty injury last season. Heard nothing but good things out of Savion this season. As long as he stays healthy, I have no doubt that he's going to make the squad. So that's 4 safeties, 2 nickels. Will Harris is going to round out that 3rd nickel cornerback spot. He's also a special teams ace for us, so he does really well on both sides there, playing on teams and on the defense. When we slide over to cornerback, we know that Cam Sutton is going to be one of the best corners in the league this season. I think that the camp battle is really between Stephen Gilmore, Starling Thomas, Khalil Dorsey, and Tay Hayes. I think that that's going to be one of the battles to watch tonight. Is Stephen Gilmore or Starling Thomas really going to shine more? And they play opposite sides most of the time, but that doesn't mean that they won't put one at 1 and one at 2 tonight on opposite sides of the field to get a feel for how well they're able to play together.
Right.
But you got Cam Sutton rounding out quarterback 1. Jerry Jacobs should round out cornerback 2. And that's only because right now Emmanuel Mosley is hurt. He's still recovering. Then you've got Chase Lucas and Starling Thomas. Look, Chase Lucas is a talker. He's another CJ Gardner-Johnson. When I watched him last season, and especially during Hard Knocks, we had a lot of opportunity to watch Chase. And he's a talker. He gets you going. He gets you motivated. So I think Chase is going to slide in. But if it were between Chase Lucas and Starling Thomas, I got to see what Starling Thomas does tonight. We know that Chase can cover. He suffered a few injuries last season, and he was up and down off the roster, on the practice squad, so on and so forth. But the Lions kept 11 last season. They might keep 12, but they might keep 13 only because Emmanuel Mosley's not going to count towards roster spot. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Emmanuel Mosley at 11, Starling Thomas at 12, and I think you've got your roster. So Cam Sutton at cornerback 1, Chase Lucas as his backup. You've got Jerry Jacobs, Starling Thomas, Emmanuel Mosley on pup, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch, Will Harris at the nickel spot. They're also backup safeties. Versatility on this team and depth on this team is ridiculous. This is going to be one of the hardest cuts in Lions history. Tracy Walker, Efetu Malofonwu, Kirby Joseph, and Savion Smith to round it out. So there's your 12 guys that are going to make this roster. Keep your eyes out for Stephen Gilmore, Starling Thomas tonight. Starling Thomas is definitely one of my dark horse contestants to make this roster. Andy, what do you got to say?
Yeah, no, he's Starling Thomas is the one I've been watching too. He's actually really impressed. And Will, to be honest with you, when I compare your list to mine, we're not very far off. The only thing I know is Emmanuel Mosley. He's only out until he's supposed to be back game 2. He's only on the PUP list until game 2. So all goes well. He's supposed to be back for the Lions home opener against Seattle. So it'd be good to see him. But I'd say I'm actually more keeping my eye on Starling Thomas. I think he, again, another dark horse that you and I both liked. I know the defense thought very highly of him. I think he's going to give another good signature to this secondary. And yeah, our depth, I kind of like a lot of other things. Well, I can't remember seeing a depth chart this deep with our secondary. I honestly don't think ever. And I'm 35-year Lion fan, and I can't remember seeing a depth chart like this. This is going to be a tough. Yeah, you're right. This is going to be a tough cut season for this team. I mean, who do you pick out of this? And I guarantee you, whoever they cut, considering how good everyone's been doing, whoever they cut's going to go to another team, and they'll do just fine. I really like Starling Thomas.
That's my fear, and that's
yes.
The Lions in seasons past could cut whoever they wanted, and they made it on the practice team.
Right.
Because nobody picked them up. Now,
exactly,
our players are going to get sniped. And credit, kudos to Brad Holmes. In just one offseason, he turned one of the biggest weaknesses of this Lions team, which is our defense and our secondary, into probably one of the scariest units in the NFL if they all stay healthy.
Yeah. Absolutely, they will. No, you're good, buddy. I can't. That's why it was one of the topics I know you and I wanted to bring up. People talk about defenses and whatnot, and what could be the most important or lethal part of it. Honestly, you could have a good front end, but if that secondary is not doing their job, and even vice versa. So I just think all the way around, our defense has improved. It's night and day compared to last year. Last year we were at the bottom in defense. This year, we'll be top 10. We'll be a top 10 defense. It will be a defense that's going to get teams' attention. I have no doubt about that.
So we haven't spoken a lot about, the front seven. And I think we're going to get more into that this Sunday. We'll talk more of Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, Josh Paschal, the linebackers. We've been kind of doing that purposely, and that's because there really isn't a lot coming out. There hasn't been a lot on display, and I really wanted to see it tonight. Hopefully they'll get a lot of work tonight, at least the first quarter for the defense. Right. I don't think we're going to see much out of the number ones on offense, but maybe one series. If we saw 2 series, we'd be lucky. It's kind of interesting because these joint practices are replacing preseason games. That's what the teams are using them for. They lost a preseason game going from 4 to 3. And now they're utilizing joint practices to really get that extra work with the ones where it's not in a vicious setting of a game where they feel like they have something to prove and there's more injuries, right? So I don't think we're going to see a ton from the ones tonight. And that's why we're saying, these guys that have a legit shot, Starling Thomas, Stephen Gilmore, Mohamed Ibrahim, Antoine Green, Chase Cota, Dylan Drummond. These are the guys to really watch tonight. I know it's boring when you're not seeing the number ones go, but this really gives you a good look at what's going to be on the field if somebody goes down. I guess to round out the rest of the evening tonight, what time do we got here?
We are at 3:30.
So game's going to be on at 7 o'clock, so we're going to wrap this up here in just a few minutes. We're going to give you a little bit of a pregame warm-up to the Giants, and before we do that, let's talk Teddy Bridgewater. So, we talked. I kind of gave you the the question of what was Teddy's impact on the team. We went through that. The one thing that I wanted to mention on Teddy was, in no way is this a competition, but here's one off-the-wall prediction. By bringing in a guy like Teddy, and it gives you a little bit of security blanket for Jared Goff and this Lions offense. Does this mean that the Lions aren't going to extend Goff next season, even if he has a stellar season? I don't think Goff's going to get extended this season. I feel like it's too late, and I think Brad Holmes is smart enough not to screw the quarterback's mind, talking extension during the season. It's just bad GMing. It's bad for everybody. If Goff has a stellar season, he blows off the doors again. They go to a playoff, even if they win a playoff game. I think he would be stupid not to extend Goff at that point. But something, it's just, it's kind of in the back of my head saying, wait a second here. Like, you're bringing in Teddy Bridgewater at $5 million. Even if you were to re-sign at 10, that's a bargain. Even if he could win you a couple of games, just about anybody's going to be able to play behind this offensive line, and with the type of weapons they have for wide receivers and running backs. I still feel I'm all in on Goff, and he's the leader of this team, hands down. But something is telling me that Brad might want to save $55 million a year. We'll see. So I'm going to leave that with you, resting F-face. I'm going to leave that with you.
Well, resting F-face has something to say to you. The Lions are going to win the NFC North. And
100%, hands down.
But, hold on there, big guy. The Lions are going to win the NFC North. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying this stuff is my prediction point. It's going to lead into how I feel about Goff, because I said it 1,000 times before. I'm the biggest Goff fanboy on the planet, I think. So that being said, they're going to win the NFC North. They're going to win. I'll put them at the NFC Championship game. Win or lose doesn't matter at that point. They make that deep of a playoff run, they're going to re-sign Goff. Will he get $55 million a year? I don't think so. There is an issue, though. This is the only thing I would be afraid of. I think they'll extend him, but I don't know if they're going to be willing to extend him with Justin Herbert type money. With Justin Herbert, as we all know, with the Chargers, signed a 5-year, $262.5 million deal. He literally is making the most money annually over every quarterback in the league.
Yeah, but isn't that only like $52 million a year?
Yeah, only $52 million a year, Will.
Yeah, it's just pocket change.
Yeah, so, who wants that? But all seriousness, no. They're going to re-sign Goff.
If they re-sign Goff, he's worth $52 million a year, hands down.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. But when you said the number $55 million, I don't think he's going to – well, maybe he will command that much, but I don't see them paying him $55 a year. Now, if there's a miracle that this team wins the Super Bowl, I'm not predicting that. I already got enough backlash predicting 14-3. But if they were to win the Super Bowl, I would pay him $55 a year.
Well, I don't think there would be anyone that wouldn't, but
well, there's haters out there, Will, and you know it.
Oh, there's a ton of haters, but there's a lot of people that don't take the time to do research and to read and to really dive into it. So yeah. If you guys want to take a minute and actually read some stats and go through things and have an intelligent, experienced conversation about things, that's what we try to do. We don't know everything, but we're at least trying to give you the research and read into things. Now, we do come away with some amazing calls. And, like I predicted, all of the Lions draft picks through the third round in April, and back in March. And that just came from taking the time to read and do research and what fit. I don't know how I got them all right. I really don't. As I highly doubt Brad Holmes reads what I write. So the thing that I wanted to get into is a little bit more of tonight's game. So what are we going to expect from tonight? Do we really need a win for our season to have success tonight? The answer is no. The preseason means absolutely dog poop, and don't get twisted if we lose tonight's game. Do I feel like we're going to lose? No. I think the Lions, their roster is so deep. The Giants roster is not as deep, but the Lions roster is so deep that we're going to win in the second half. It may be tight in the first half. Then again, our first team might get the ball and run right down the field and score. And then our defense might shut them down the rest of the game. But I feel like if we can win and score with our second and third tier defense and offense, that's what we need to see tonight. It doesn't matter if we win or lose the game. What matters is how is that second and third tier doing, because those are the guys that we need on this team for depth. And we already have a deep team that's going to do what? Like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell both said, we're going to lead you out to deep water. We're going to keep on swimming until you can't swim anymore. We're going to drag your ass down. That's what depth on a roster does. You keep putting in fresh legs after fresh legs, and you're going to wear them out. You put in David Montgomery, JAHMYR GIBBS, Mohamed Ibrahim, you'll wear them down. You keep trading out your offense and your defensive line, you'll wear them down. When they can't go anymore, you start throwing it down the field. So, in my opinion, we're a very deep team. I don't care if we win or lose the game tonight. Of course, I want to see a win. I want to see these guys play hard, and play without a bunch of dirty laundry on the field. I don't want to see a bunch of penalties. It's going to happen. I hope it doesn't continue through to the regular season. So, on the defensive side of the football, I think that Chase Lucas, Starling Thomas, and Stephen Gilmore, they're all going to have to step in and step up and really showcase what they can do.
Right.
If they want to even have a chance at making the 53-man roster, every game counts, and it counts starting tonight. Like I said earlier, I think that the joint practices are really starting to replace some of these preseason games. So pay more attention to these joint practices. Get out there if you can go, or if you want some tickets. I think I got a couple left to the Jags. I might be giving them away. Again, the Lions have a deep roster. And in my opinion, the depth of this team is what's really going to help us throughout the entire season. And it's what's going to push us into a deep playoff run if we get that far. I really feel like you have a couple of injuries on the team, like, a Mosley. That's a good and a bad thing. He's going to have some fresh legs come late into the season. You're saying he might be back week 2, but remember, he hasn't practiced. He's going to need time. He's going to need time to practice before he can get on the field and to understand the defense. So if you pop him for 6 weeks, that doesn't hurt this team. They want the guys that have the continuity on the field. All right, so that's enough talk. Look, tonight is arguably the most important kickoff to this Lions season that we've had in a long time. Probably the most anticipated kickoff to the season in decades. 22. You've heard it here first, and it won't be the last. We have a good team, folks. We have a great group of leadership. The ownership is hands down first class. We're going to be going places. As a fan, as a 22-year-long season ticket holder, I am proud to say that this Lions team has finally righted the ship. And if I'm wrong, y'all can shoot me down later, but I don't think it's going to be the case. So we're going with this. The game starts in about 20 minutes. Andy, what do you have that you want to finish off with tonight? And I want to thank everybody for jumping in. It looks like there were some chats that we missed. Maybe we should check those real quick.
Yeah, actually, yes, please. Real quick, Will, while you are checking those, I just want to say I know a lot of times we don't value preseason very much, and actually I've never valued preseason my whole life, being a football fan and a Lion fan, but I've never actually been this excited ever in my 35 years being a Lions fan, ever in my life. And this is the first time when I'm actually going to look at a preseason game with excitement. I'm actually going to almost be watching it like it's a regular season game, not for what it's worth, but just the fact of my excitement level right now. The one thing I'd like to see, and I'm going to bring this up, and I hope to God this is the last time people like me have to bring this up. All the players I'm going to watch. I mean, you got the obvious ones, GIBBS, Campbell, Laporta, Branch, ones that we've talked about. JAMO needs to get on that field. JAMO needs to get on that field, play the first half, maybe part of the third quarter. He needs to get a ton of balls thrown at him. I know a lot of people keep defending this guy, and they think people, even probably like us, are attacking him. I'm not attacking the kid. I want him to be successful, but I got to see what he can do on the field. 1 pass, 1 touchdown last year, and only 9 targets. You need to prove yourself, kiddo. JMO, I hope to see you on the field tonight. We all do. I know we all want to see you succeed. That's going to be the biggest thing I'm looking for tonight, Will. On top of our draft and rookie class, I want to see JMO get a boatload of balls thrown at him. Dan Campbell even said he was going to get soaked with plays and with first-team reps in this game. So that's what I had to say. Go Lions tonight. I hope you steamroll the Giants tonight like you have on the joint practices. Mr. Rock, what you got?
So I would agree. Look, JMO, I know there's a lot of people out there saying he's earned his way or we should stay off the JMO train with all the negativity. Look, there's a reason why this kid is in the headlines, and that's because he's in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. So JMO, I really hope he jumps out tonight and gets doused with opportunity like Dan Campbell said that was going to happen. I hope that happens tonight, and I hope he shows us something. These intermediate and short routes that he's dropping a lot of balls on, maybe that's not his bread and butter, but you know what? You can't always run a deep post or a deep corner or a fly route. You can't always run deep. So I hate to see him only be a little bit of a gadget guy and, 3rd and long plays. He's got to prove himself. You're right about that. He's got to earn it, and that's what this team's all about. I don't think Brad or Dan is going to be willing to hang on to somebody that's not producing. Regardless of where they picked him, I don't think that they'll hang on to somebody. I think they'll give him this season, and they don't owe him any guaranteed money anymore.
No.
So what's the point? Why hold on to somebody if you don't owe him any money? Trade him, do whatever you want with him.
I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see it happen.
I don't want to see it either. I don't want to see it either. He's too talented of a kid. He's too fast. He could really help create some separation on this team and provide a lot of excitement for the fans. I just don't want to see him turn it into another Charles Rogers. And, we all know what happened there. So.
Oh, how dare you read that name?
Yeah. Oh, I won't. Yeah, I'll leave that alone. All right, 17 minutes to game time. I hope you all had some fun tonight. Please feel free to email us or DM us if you guys would like to jump in, join the show. We'd love to have you guys on. We're going to be working on the call-in feature so that you guys can call in live and ask questions. And we'll just ask that we kind of keep things as PC as possible because YouTube doesn't like a lot of cuss words. We've had a few extra people jumping in tonight, so we're going to be signing off. We're going to be watching the game and taking our notes, and we'll update you all on Sunday as to what we saw and where we're headed from here. So thank you guys all for being a part of Rocked On Detroit Lions and our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Please go and follow and subscribe to our YouTube at Rocked On Podcast Network. I know it's not the same as Rocked On Detroit Lions, but that's where we post all of our videos and all of our streams. And if you could do that, that would help us. That's all we ask is just subscribe so we can help build our platform here. And we do all this for free. So all of our time and hard-earned money goes into this for you guys. And all we ask is just for a little bit of help pressing a button. That's it. So that's it for Rocked On Detroit Lions tonight. We love you all, and I hope you all have a great night. Go Lions. One pride.
Go Lions.
See you all Sunday.